So, brand new Firebase announcement. Gemini 2.5 is now inside Firebase. If you see my previous video, you'll have seen that I was not a fan of Firebase Studio. I thought it was a kind of rubbish, weird knockoff love child of Lovable and VS Code. Well, they have now got Gemini 2.5 powering it, which is, as everyone knows, the number one coding, essentially LLM right now, right? Even better than Claude 3.7. apparently, right? And I actually tested it, and it is. So, they now have Gemini 2.5 inside Firebase Studio. In today's video, we're going to get it. We're going to have a try. We're going to check out some of the sample prompts. We're going to use some of the prompts that I use here, and we're going to chuck it into Firebase, into Lovable, and into Bolt, and we're going to see which is the best. So, first things first, let's just use a sample prompt. So, we're here in studio.firebase.google.com. To get here, you can literally just go to firebase.studio and it'll pop you open to here, the full stack AI workspace. And as you can see, basically it's like VS Code, which is a code editor, plus Gemini, plus a little bit of kind of lovable action going on. And basically just give it a prompt, and then from that prompt it will create an entire website. So if we actually have a look first at Gemini 2.5, the blog post, the release about it, you can see a couple of the apps that they've made. So using Firebase Studio with Gemini 2.5, here's an example app. But the actual exploring some example apps we'll look at is, for example, this here, where they make a piano simulator, which is, cool, I suppose. They have a schedule helper. I thought this one was pretty cool, where basically it makes this simple website where you connect your calendar from Google into it, and then based on that, you can then schedule your tasks around your calendar. Kind of like, I think it's called Motion. I see that advertised all the time, which is pretty cool. So you can make like your own SaaS. That's kind of the idea behind these products, is solve your own problems essentially. Another one, Quantum Phenomena Explorer. It's like lessons here on quantum physics. Cool. Social Sync, thought this one looks pretty cool. Basically here, it allows you to monitor different, I'll make it large so you can see. This one you can monitor different social media profiles, which I thought was pretty cool. And basically they've made like a whole SaaS with that, which is pretty cool. But it always has like this look about it. So like with Windows, something I don't like is everything's always like these square boxes. Well, now Google is like getting their own version of that through the use of these LLMs, I'm finding, where they have like this nice rounded buttony box feel, and it just uses that as default for everything. FlowForge, which is pretty cool, so it's like an NaN alternative that's pre-made by AI, which I thought was pretty cool. And then Workout Wizard, so it's basically creating a workout based on whatever you input here. So you can see again that kind of box style, you paste stuff in. But generally the idea here anyway is supposed to be enhancing developer productivity, but I mean really it's like creating your own kind of one-click SaaS. But the whole thing with SaaS, before we just get into the checking everything out, essentially the problem people have with it, right? The reason people have so many problems, I'll show you here, we'll get up Excalidraw, is essentially you think you put in some prompt, right? P we'll call it. You put in this prompt and then boom, you get a SaaS, right? SaaS being software as a service. But you don't. The problem is what actually happens is you put in some prompt and then it gives you the baseline for some application, right? So say this is 0. So you get this baseline. You then have to iterate it inside of Lovable or whatever, right? To get it to here, which is like almost 1. Right, we'll call it 0.8. But then to actually get it all the way to like a sellable, scalable SaaS, sure, you can use Lovable, right? People are using things like that. But in reality, you kind of need to be a bit of a developer. So at least to understand what's going on. So you have this here, which is the last icing on the cake. So sure, you can get like a solid chunk of the way there. But remember that it's all about business requirements, etc. So before you jump in and try and make the next big SaaS, just realize that it's bigger than just one shot into Firebase or Lovable or something. Anyway, so that's kind of what Firebase does well about importing repositories and stuff. So if we click go, we get onto this screen here. Hello, prototype an app with AI. Now, from here, something pretty cool is you can create new workspaces, right? You can import repositories. So this is where they do well on kind of like this side here, right? Where you can actually import some repository. And you can also select what base you want for the application. So, for example, you want to make an app, use Android Studio. You want to use Python Flask, which is for like APIs and web hosting. You can use that. You want to use Java, use that. Go, blah, 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 right? So you can actually select which language you want it to use and which technology stack you want it to use. You want to use MongoDB, you want to create it with React, for example. Whatever you want to do. So what you can do instead though, just write in what you want to do and it will decide for you, and that's what we're going to do. So first we'll do the sample apps so you can see what they have here. Tipping calculator, recipe generator, ERP dashboard, expense tracker. So recipe generator, I'll click that in. That's quite interesting because that's very similar to one which we created a couple of weeks ago, which is create a simple function fully HTML website where it's vegan ingredients, blah, blah, blah. So what I'll do is I'll just change this so that it's, I don't even need to say it's vegan, I'll just leave it like that. We'll copy that and we'll prototype with AI, send that in, and we'll watch it work first, and then we'll go and paste it into Lovable and Bolt. I don't want to miss any of the cool stuff that happens here. I'm going to move my head as well so you can see stuff a little bit better. I'm going to go down here. So here we go. So just like with Gemini, it's pretty fast. App Blueprint comes back. Now this is pretty cool. Features, recipe suggestion, ingredient entry, recipe view, and units handling. Let me change this. So we click here. We can change this blueprint for the application. And instead here I'll have recipe suggestions, ingredient entry. What we'll add in is selecting it. So select common fridge ingredients vegan instead, or option. So basically what I'm asking it to do here is instead to also have a part where you can select common ingredients, because one of the most annoying things is when you have to keep typing all the time. So anyway, prototype this app. You can also see you can change the color, layout, typography, and iconography, etc. So let's prototype the app, and as you can see here, it's going through creating all of these files, and it is using TypeScript to do so. Let me see if I can open it up. Code, if I click yes, switch to code up the top, and there we go. You can see the code's actually coming up here. A bunch of stuff, which is interesting. Look at all of this stuff. If you have no idea about coding, this would scare the life out of you. Which is probably why they used to hide it all the time in like Lovable and Bolt, or well, Lovable mainly. You wouldn't see the code. Anyway, so we have here the application. Let me switch to the prototyper. You can see that it's still just working away, creating all the relevant files based on the blueprint. So whilst it's doing that, why don't we copy this here? I'll paste that in just so that we have it, and then we'll also include this, and we'll just say make sure to include this feature. Boom. Right, so we can let this continue prototyping, and we're going to paste the same one into Lovable. Bam. And we'll paste the same one into bolt.new, which is basically just another kind of Lovable thing. Though the cool thing with Bolt is you can go to like bolt.diy. So bolt.diy, you can actually run Bolt yourself. Now this looks complicated, I promise you it really isn't. We cover how to do it inside of the school community, so inside of Classroom, AI Tools, and bolt.diy. Bam, in there. But essentially what you do is go to bolt.diy and download, and that will allow you to then use say like Gemini 2.5 for free inside, because in bolt.new you don't select which app you want it to use, which LLM, you just let it run. Whereas if you download and use bolt.diy, let me see here, we'll mute ourselves, we can actually select the model on the home screen. And you can use like Gemini 2.5, let's see here, there we go, you can see it's Gemini 2.5, and you can get that and use it for free for a certain number of queries or prompts. So go back to here, this is still working away, Lovable still working away, Bolt still working away. So if we just look first at like what we're looking at, first of all, Firebase, it has this distinction between, or Firebase Studio has this distinction between here, which is the prototyping kind of platform, and then the coding platform, so you can switch to code as I've just shown you. When you switch to code, you're now then in like VS Code, essentially, but online. VS Code just being a code editor. And you have all your code and stuff here, your standard VS Code stuff here, like your source control, search, run, debug, extensions, Firebase Studio. All this stuff, which is cool. Then you have your actual code here to look at, and on here you'll have your actual application that you can view in real time. So as you can see here, it has like a browser, but that won't work until the prototyping is done. Now when you want to make changes, you can make changes directly in the code, or you can come to the prototyper and make changes here. Lovable, on the other hand, has this big massive prototyping page here, as you can see, and on the left hand side, this is where you chat away to Lovable, get it to do things for you, etc. And then on Bolt, Bolt's very similar to Lovable in that regard, but as you can see, it's a bit more geared towards actual developers or people using code, because that's what it lands on first, so it's assuming that you want to look at the code. So on the left hand side here, you can see that you're chatting away to Bolt, same with Lovable, and then here you have the actual code. Now, I find that I prefer Bolt.new and how it actually communicates to me here on the left hand side. Like it's showing me here just everything. I can see what's happening. I like it. Lovable, I'm like, what are you up to, mate? Now you can click on this and see, but like it's kind of just difficult to see. It's just running in the background. And then Firebase, boom, there we go. Firebase Studio actually has it back to front. Why did they go to code? I don't want it to be in code. Oh, I've done that thing again with the mouse where I flick it the wrong way by accident. So Firebase is actually back to front where it has here on the right hand side the chatting away. I really like the blueprint. The blueprint idea is brilliant. I think Lovable and Bolt ought to bring in a blueprint thing, like feature, before it hits and goes search. And kind of like for ChatGPT's Gemini, not Gemini, O3 and O4 models and stuff, when you, or I think any model now, when you deep research, it's like, clarify these questions before I go and do all this. And that would be good. So here we can see it's actually created it. Lovable created it too, and Bolt has also created it. So based on first look here, my opinion would actually probably be that Firebase's looks the worst. I think that Lovable's looks the best, because that's the main thing. Lovable's kind of like all about visuals, hence why it shows you this and not like the code off the bat. Whereas you can go up here though and toggle code on, and you can see the code here. But this, I think, looks the best. I like in the graphics and stuff, and I can select between grains, plants. Hey, that's super cool. Plant-based milks. Hey, that is so cool. Let me actually just add some in here. We'll do a little experiment of it. Although I can't get back to my vegetables, which is frustrating. Let's click find vegan recipe, see what it comes up with. Boom. Hey, that's amazing. Match 17%, 20%. View recipe, shows you the ingredients. That's well good. Although the one thing that's not well good is that, none of these are exactly matching what I have. I haven't said I've got broccoli and bell peppers and carrots. But pretty cool, because those are pretty standard ingredients. We'll go to Bolt, we'll give it a try, and then we'll finally go to Firebase Studio. So here we can search ingredients. Wait, actually, can I even type ingredients in here? No. It only lets me select. It doesn't let me type. Now that's a bit of a flaw, to be fair. Bolt, we come over here, you can go between protein, vegetable, fruit and grain. I like that. Let's select some here. The only thing is I can't see what I've selected when I've selected them on Bolt, which is pretty disappointing. But let's click on one and we'll see. Let's generate recipes. Bam. It's only created me one recipe though, which includes bananas and oranges in a stir fry. So not a fan of Bolt. Let's go back to Firebase Studio and check it out. So we have here, we can list ingredients, we can select, we'll select some common ones. I think, yes, worst interface that we have, but it could be the best actually at producing the results. So let's see, suggest recipes. Took ages, and there we go, has not worked. So it must be that Bolt and Lovable have just generated a back end of recipes, is what I can imagine has happened here. Whereas here it's going to want us to connect to an API key. So we can either, behind my head, enter an API key in here, or you can select auto generate. So if I move myself up again just for a moment, you can see here we can either enter our Gemini API key or auto generate. If we click on auto generate, it should in the back end go and generate the API key, but people have been having issues with this, so we'll wait and see. What's this icon here? Oh, I can draw to change stuff. If I do this, I'll make it wider or something. Make wider. Hey, that'd be well interesting. First iteration is ready, try it out. Did it make it wider? I don't think so. Oh wait, it's making the changes now. But yeah, it's added in the API key, which is very good. So let's see how we get on. File changes. So apparently it's done. If I refresh it. Aha! Kind of understood the requirements, but not mega. So anyway, that's our first example. We're comparing them across the three of them. In my opinion, I think Lovable is the best. But we'll check this one more time, just with like selecting these. We'll just suggest recipes. Why do I need to also list here? That's not very good. And let's see how fast. So it's pretty slow. I mean, yeah, it's alright. Nah, Lovable's the best in my opinion. So let's try one more time, and then I'll show you how to publish it and stuff. So if we come back to Firebase Studio up here, we can select a new app. And this time, let's go back to our single page websites. So if we go to prompt base inside applied AI, go to, we'll just leave that as is. And let's create SaaS landing page. Let me see, what would be a good one? I like the stylish link in bio one. Let's do that. Let's copy that. And then we'll paste this in here. Bam. And then we'll prototype with AI. We'll just send that in and we'll let it start prototyping. And we'll do the same again inside Lovable. So let's paste that in, send that in. And then let's do the same inside Bolt. We'll go back to the home page in Bolt. And then after these are created, we'll show you how you can publish them across all of them. Because as you can see, you can, if I move me down again, you see you can export and deploy here. Inside Lovable, you can also publish, invite, but you can also connect to Supabase and stuff, which is pretty cool. In Firebase Studio, you can publish as well. So we'll just let it prototype it by default, whatever it thinks is the best, we'll let it do. Lovable working away as well, Bolt working away as well. Now again, as I was saying, these things are cool for creating that basic core part of the website, but you can also use them to update parts of websites, which is pretty cool too. But generally, I would suggest if you're actually wanting to code, so for here, this is cool, but if you actually want to code, you are, in my opinion, best to use something like VS Code. This may not work. Whoa. VS. Oh, something's done. We use VS Code essentially instead and use Ru Code or something. There we go, boom. So Lovable's one here actually looks pretty cool. There's your face. There you go. You have your like little link in bio website. Now, what we can do here, well, whilst everything else is still running in Bolt. Oh wait, is Firebase done? Oh, Bolt, yours looks well good. That looks well better than that. Oh yeah, I like that one. Then what about Firebase? Firebase is still thinking of it. I mean, this is crazy. Everyone's talking about how Gemini 2.5 is the best. Meanwhile, we have Lovable winning on round 1 and Bolt is winning on round 2. Let's see how it gets on. Is it gonna? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's alright. I mean, it doesn't look anywhere near as good as this. It doesn't look as creative as this, or as kind of, I suppose, it's like spam. Yeah, nah, hasn't won for me. So what we'll do now is, let's say, make it more modern, and we'll just send that to all and see what they do with the iterations. Now, if you did see my my Lovable video, you'll see that there are new features and stuff inside Lovable where you can actually manually edit little components and stuff, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so one thing. Oh, issue. Why do we have an issue? Now, this is something crazy that happened in Firebase before. It would come up with issues all the time, and then you would have to then ask it to go and fix the issues. I mean, it should just by default do that. Anyway, so it's making it more modern. They all are working on it. Oh, that's a bit crazy looking. So when we have these applications done anyway, as you may or may not know, inside Bolt, so that's, let me see, that looks pretty cool too actually. Oh hey, that is pretty cool. Can't tell if it looks super cool or like a pop-up when you watch, when I've seen people watch football games on the internet. Sometimes, you know, this kind of thing will pop up. Let's see how Lovable is getting on. I mean, do I need to refresh it? No, I mean, that's pretty awful. And then how's this looking? Yeah, not too good, and still issues. So, I mean, I'm actually really, yeah, look, I've detected it. Yeah, I know you have. Fix it, bro. That's crazy. So anyway, to publish them on Bolt, you go to deploy, bam, and then it'll deploy it to Netlify, and then you get a URL that you can actually then go to hit this link in bio. So you can make your own link in bio website, which is pretty cool. You can also export it by opening it in StackBlitz or actually downloading the code, and you can integrate directly in Supabase, GitHub, and Stripe, meaning you can have the version control in GitHub, Supabase so that you have a consistent back end, and Stripe so you can get payments. Now similarly, inside Lovable, we can publish here, we can publish it to this domain so that then we can share this project. You can invite people actually to come and also edit at the same time, which I think is a bit weird for vibe coding, but you can also connect it to GitHub, Supabase, then obviously edit the code. And as for Firebase Studio, now the thing here is we can go to publish, and it will create a project, and then it will have to link a billing account, set up some environment to then try and host it, which is an absolute nightmare. I mean, look at this. Bolt is done. We've already got it here. Bam. Oh, boo. I need to log into Netlify. But anyway, once you log in, it's up there. Whereas here, I'm going to have to set up projects and stuff to actually connect it up. See, I have to select a billing account and stuff because app hosting is a pay-as-you-go service, which is a kind of crazy, right? Because here, if we go to instead Gemini, right, actually just go to the normal Gemini, you can create a website. So let me open up here. I've been making websites non-stop. So we come to this one here, which is like a little game, right? One that I had tested when I was testing Gemini 2.5 Pro, the new one, yesterday. You can share this canvas to that link, and you can just share that link to people. Look, like boom, there you go. And you can do this if you're on the free account too, and then I can just share this to people. Whereas to actually do it from Firebase, I have to connect this up and set up the environment stuff. So a bit of a nightmare. So anyway, let me know what you think. Do you think Firebase Studio is the new big thing, or are you more of a Lovable or Bolt kind of person? Now I must admit, before this video, I was much more pro Lovable, but now I'm actually feeling, you know, Bolt might have a future, despite Lovable being everywhere. And Firebase, I don't know. I just feel like it's not what I wanted. It's like I want VS Code plus Raw Code so I can have an AI assistant in my code editor, and I want something like Lovable where I can just chat away and it'll build stuff for me, and integrate it like this. Which actually, just before we go, let's see. Can I connect this to a backend? So switch to code. Can I open up Firebase Studio and connect it to a backend? Let's see here. If it finally decides to load up. There we go. So we can host it on Firebase. We can deploy it in Cloud Run, so basically run it as code. We can add the Gemini API. We can add Google Maps, add Secrets Manager, which is pretty good. But can I add a backend? How do I talk to it? Gemini. There we go. When this finally loads up. Man, this is an absolute nightmare. Can you add a Firebase or Supabase backend and host the code in GitHub? Let's see what it says. We'll give it a little second to think. So I'm not able to add the Firebase Supabase backend or host code automatically. If I can help you do it. So yeah, there you go. You can't. It's like they've just grabbed VS Code, copied it because VS Code's owned by Microsoft. They've copied it and just pulled it with Gemini. Yeah, not impressed. Not impressed too much with updates. So let me know what you think. If you like it, let me know. If you don't, let me know. Comment over at the school community where we will teach you how to apply AI from the ground up, as well as get involved with the community of like-minded people all talking about AI. So till next time, take care, and I'll see you later.